2000. I'd like to open the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Mary, would you call the roll, please?
Richard Martin,
Here.
Valerie Jorgensen,
Here.
Jane Clapham,
Here.
Sarah Rastigar.
Here.
Okay.
All righty. Do we have any additions or corrections to the agenda? Not hearing any.
Nope.
What was that? No? Okay. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. Meeting minutes of April 13th, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to read those? If you do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of April 13th?
I'll make the motion to approve them.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second that.
Okay, thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes of April 13th, please say yes.
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 Okay, minutes are approved. Next are the meeting minutes of May 11th. And I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented. Do I hear a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Val. All in favor, say yes.
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 Yes. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, recognition of visitors. Who do we have tonight?
Scott McClintock, I'm on your old business line.
All right, hi, Scott. And you're for the Walnut Street?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Ben, how about a zoning officer's report?
Well, the Board of Zoning Appeals continues to be our most active zoning body. I am expecting a rezoning application sometime this year for an expansion of the New Albany storage project on Johnstown Road, north of Walnut Street.
Okay. How big of an expansion is that going to be?
They could potentially more than double what they have. So they have
Okay.
a 5-acre parcel that they've developed with about 10,000 square feet, and they have acquired a 20-acre parcel next door, and so they could, easily, add 20,000 square feet.
Yeah.
The good thing is it would be even further away from Johnstown Road, and they would be able to screen it. One question is how they would access the site. Would they use the existing property or have another access point? So that's something they're working on before they come to the township.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of activity around the township, out on Walnut Street near Lee Road. There's a large subdivision underway. They've got multiple phases in development. The MI project on Lee Road further south is well into its third phase, I believe, and many of those homes are already occupied. And then
Okay.
development within the village center. The amphitheater is coming along. That's expected to open in September, as well as Brewdog.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, that's looking nice down there.
Yeah, and the library actually completed a renovation, and so they've updated their interior space and made it a little bit more accessible and kind of adapted to the pandemic and some of those conditions. And they're open now, and it looks really nice.
Good.
We are waiting for a decision from our General Assembly on whether or not public bodies will be allowed to continue meeting virtually. Our Board of Trustees is planning to meet in person beginning in July, at least for those evening meetings, and depending on the legislation. There was a replacement operating budget from the Senate that repealed an extension of the public meeting virtual authority. So that hasn't been finalized, but let's wait and see at this point. We'll plan to meet in person. But sometimes there are advantages, for instance, if we didn't have a quorum able to meet in person, but someone was able to meet virtually and they could attend, online, that could help us get business done.
Okay.
The township will be reviewing its tax budget at the July 6th meeting. Not a lot changing there. Due to the revaluation, we did see an increase in proceeds in the first half distribution. So most people experience an increase in their property taxes, and a portion of that gets returned to the township for the fire levy. That's all that I have for an update. Happy to take any questions that the board might have.
I'm good, but that was a good report. Anybody else? Got any questions for Ben?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Well, in new business, we have a variance application 06-07-2021-01 at 8165 Shaleppy Road. Requesting a variance under section 406-02.1 to allow the applicant to place a third accessory structure on the property. And they have about 7.5 acres. Do we have, I don't think we have anybody here representing them. Ben, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, you'll see in their justification of variance, really they're just asking to avoid placing this on their roof structure. They wanted a ground mounted installation. And
Oh, I see.
those are somewhat common. In a more urban setting, people just don't have the space to do a ground mounted solar setup. But what they're proposing is that it would be behind the residence. They have a larger property, in excess of 7 acres. And so this will be mostly screened. They already have 2 existing detached accessory structures. So they need a variance in order to add this to their property.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure when I was looking at it, if it was, the solar system was going to go on top of another structure and be a building, or if it was, just like you said, just a mounted structure. So thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, so in this graphic to the right is Shaleppy Road, and then they have the house, and then to the west of the house, to the left of your screen, is the solar array kind of tucked behind some trees.
Oh, okay.
Hi there, this is Matthew Manglona, District Manager for Power Home Solar. I apologize for my late entry in here. I had some trouble trying to get the app downloaded, so I ended up calling in. So I apologize for getting in here halfway through, but I wanted to lend any type of assistance as I could throughout the process here.
Okay, good. Well, you're right on time. We just
Glad to hear it.
just got to this variance application, and Ben was explaining a little bit about the setup and how it was going to work. So like I said, you're right on time.
So, if you could maybe describe what some of the differences are with the ground mounted construction versus a roof system.
So I mean, like, are you looking more towards the benefits of it, or are you looking more towards the structure itself?
Well, I assume there's some sort of advantage for this homeowner to do the ground mounted system. And if you could just maybe, if you had anything in addition to that justification.
Of course. So when we're talking about solar, the best placement for them is facing at 180 degrees south with a 30-degree tilt. Now, on the customer structure here, you can see that the house itself is facing east and west. Now, we don't lose a lot of production from going east and west. However, In this particular situation with the customer's consumption and the availability of production that we could see from the system, it made a more ethical sense to go with a ground mount where we're able to get the utmost potential production from each panel. But that's more or less the main difference is the production side and the efficiency of the overall system.
Great, I appreciate
Does,
insightful.
sorry, does the panels rotate or are they pretty much fixed in one direction?
They are fixed in one direction at 30 degrees.
Okay, and are they like about 18 feet up? Is that, I was looking at the cross section, I thought they were pretty far up. Is that correct?
Not quite. So the panels are about 2 feet up in the front and about 8 feet and 4 inches in the back.
8 feet, 4 inches in the back.
You should be able to see that on, count this
Oh,
down.
Yep.
There's a couple pages down, but if you see it from the side view, you can see how far down we're dipping into the ground itself, the total length of the pole, and then the height. Because I'm calling in, I can't quite see what screen you're sharing, but if you can pull up a side view, it would show those dimensions there.
Yep, we're able to see that. Thanks, Brian.
Just one more question. Are these panels like reflective? Do they reflect the sun rays back? How do they exactly work, I guess?
So the panels that we use, they're called SILFAB 370 watt mono. Oh, these ones are actually 330 watt monocrystalline tier 1 panels. More or less, they're what's considered investment grade, saying that they're black and slick like glass. Their comparative reflectiveness is much like a TV screen. I mean, if you were to see these things up on top of a roof, you could easily mistake it for a skylight. They don't reflect too much, and they don't draw a lot of attention other than the fact that if you're actively looking for them. But let's see here. I'm not sure if there was any rendered views of any type of previous installs being completed before, but they're not very reflective. I mean, looking at them, they just look black.
And is the angle of tilt directly south?
That is correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
And just one more question from me. So do you have like a wire or cable coming in directly from the panels to the back of the house so they can
That is
power
correct.
the house?
Yeah, so there is a trenched wire that would be done through there. If you can see on page 2 of our designs, you can actually see the route of conduit put just below the frost layer, of course, making sure that we fall within all guidelines there. But it would come from the panels to the main meter location. And from there, it would be fused into a couple different spots. We have the inverter that's placed on the side of the house, which main purpose is to turn it into usable energy. And then there's also, of course, an AC/DC disconnect, the service panel, and inside of the house, there's a Generac power cell battery.
And what about, animals and creatures, how durable the panels are, for a squirrel climbing on them or just kind of, falling on them? What about the safety aspect of it? Just curious about that.
They're pretty durable to that aspect. So if I were to even just mention the shipping protocol with these panels, the panels themselves weigh about 45 pounds each, and we stack them, I'd say roughly 30 panels high per pallet. So if you take in consideration the amount of pressure that's being put on that bottommost panel, these are pretty durable. They're meant to be able to withstand a half-inch piece of hail going at about 60 miles an hour. And of course, it's supposed to hold up against 60 plus years worth of weathering on them as well. backed with manufacturer warranties on parts covering 25 years, as well as a 30-year production warranty, guaranteeing efficiency over 82%. The panels are meant to last and be able to endure any type of wildlife or acts of God, if you will, throughout their lifetime.
Are they expensive? Just curious about the cost aspect of it.
Not they're a high ticket item, but I mean, when you look at the affordability of them, it's pretty straightforward. They usually fall within $100 of whatever the customer is already spending on electricity bills. It's just the difference is now the customer is able to get battery backup for power outages, green energy, independence from utility company, increased equity, and plus the fact that we also reinsulate their home, wrap their hot water tank, LED light bulbs. We offer a white glove service from point A to point Z. And when you're looking at all the benefits, if the customer were to go out there and reinsulate their house, we're looking at $8,000 or whatever, and then same thing with a backup generator. They can easily make those home improvements, all of which would be on top of their electricity bill. Whereas in the fact of solar, they're essentially replacing that with something that gives them added benefits. That's why you're probably going to be seeing me a couple more times with various customers in your county being able to go solar. At least their hopes up.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.
Of course.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, well, I think it's pretty straightforward. And sounds like it'd be a good addition to their home. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve this variance application for hearing at our next meeting. Do I hear a second?
I will second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Awesome. I appreciate everybody's time and consideration. Have a great rest of your evening.
Well, thank you for coming, and same here. You enjoy your evening too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, for the good of the order, just to note that our next meeting is July 13th.
July 13th.
And pending the outcome of state legislation, we'll plan on meeting in person.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Been a long time since we was able to get face to face. So, okay. Old business. Modification of variance application 03-10-2021-02 at 6929 Walnut Street. Looks like they've changed quite a bit, Ben.
Yeah, so the applicant had everything ready and went to technical review committee, and the county engineer's representative came in and basically informed the applicant that the two drives out to Walnut Street would not be permitted. And so the applicant had to go back and look for an alternative solution. And here's where we're at today. It's very similar to what was presented last month. There are still 12 lots. Only one lot requires a variance for being 2.0 acres instead of the required minimum of 2.5. The lot number changed. But as far as the land use plan elements, this layout retains all of those. The applicant would still be committing to a trail connection to Rocky Fork Park. They would be protecting a riparian corridor as well as several wetlands that have been identified on the site and maintaining a tree buffer around the perimeter. Let me scroll down to another image. The site will also retain some screening trees on the entryway, which will still be Moonstone Way. I'll try to show that. So the main entrance here off of Walnut Street will still have screening for this southernmost lot, and then a tree drive as an entryway. And so it'll still have a very rural feel as you pass this. Then you'll have Peopleheimer Ditch to the east, a treed entryway, and then some additional screening trees. This is probably a better outcome for the existing residences who would have been next to the Western Drive. And again, the site still retains the required elements from the Plain Township Land Use Plan. Scott McClintock is here on behalf of the developer and can answer any questions you might have or provide any further details.
Hi, I'm Scott McClintock with Cass Corp and Coghlan Investment. Really, we thought we had this thing figured out when we brought this to you the first time with the layout. We had gone through all of the effort with the Franklin County Planning Department to resolve all of their issues. And really, we gave them about a 2-month lead time to look at this. And then suddenly last week, we were told that from the engineering department, not the planning department, that the second access would not be allowed. So what we tried to do in that period of time was kind of reshuffle the lots. All of the lots that are on the north are essentially the same as what they were. The lots that changed on the drawing that you see is kind of the southern lots at the entrance, obviously, and wrapping up to kind of counterclockwise to the entrance. The lot that is on the sheet that Ben's got on the screen right now, the northern lot, I believe it's lot 7, is in the location where we had the 2-acre lot originally. With the shift of the driveway to the west, we were able to bring that lot back into compliance to a 2.5-acre lot, along with each of the other lots around the perimeter. So the lot that is directly across from the main entrance is the lot that is now at 2 acres. So we're essentially, with 12 lots, 11 lots are 2.5 acres or more, and 1 lot is at the 2 acres. And then, as Ben said, we tried to maintain all of the wetlands as we had before, with buffers, and actually the buffers that are shown on this plan are actually a little bit larger than what was originally shown. And then the other access point that we had that went between the lots, we have included that entire access as a preservation area. So the intent, again, with that next to those neighbors now, is to try to leave that as consistent with what it is currently in the situation. So with that, whatever questions you have, hopefully I can answer them all.
Okay, anybody have any questions?
I just have a quick question.
Okay,
The other access that you're showing on the right side of the page, is that just for internal access, and that does not does not go to any street or any road? Is that correct?
The one at the end of the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, the one at the end of the cul-de-sac.
That's going to be a leisure path connection into the parks. So it's just going to be for pedestrian use to go into the dog park area.
Okay, so there's only one access off of Walnut for the entire development, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. And I saw the fire truck turn in there also. So I guess that passes, right? The fire truck turn within the whole development.
Yes, we sent the plan to the Plain Township Fire Department. They provided us back that they were satisfied with the layout from that.
On that point, Scott,
Yes,
the
sir.
turning radius are fine. The fire department did inquire whether there could be any parking limitations for on-street parking, to limit to one side of the road if people needed to park on the roadway. Typically in these developments, we don't see much on-street parking. And with these size lots, I assume there'll be pretty extensive drives. But in principle, to say parking on the interior side of the street would not be permitted. Just something to consider.
Yeah, I don't think that, again, I agree with you. I don't see a lot of parking that's going to occur, Super Bowl party or something of that nature once in a while. But I think that if it's, I think it's something we could easily limit within the HOA documents also.
Okay, great, thanks.
Wow,
Is
my
that-
tornado warnings are going off.
Yeah, it was really pouring in here. So is that 2 11-foot lanes? Is that right? For the
2 11 feet lanes, and then there'll be a gravel berm, and then a kind of a graded berm.
how much? What's the what's the width of those berms?
The berms, I'm going to go from memory here because I haven't looked at the detail, but I believe that there are 2-foot berms.
Okay.
Which is consistent with the Franklin County street standard. There we go. Yeah, so it's 12 inches on each side, so it's 1 foot on either side.
Ben, were you thinking about maybe increasing the berms at some locations to provide parking for fire truck, or the time that the complex gets busy, perhaps?
The standard pavement width for a curb street is only 24 feet. So we still have 24 feet to work with the berms. The concern was in the event of an emergency, the ladder truck, for example, would need 18 feet to set up its stabilizers. And in the event they couldn't find an open area in the street, that would present a challenge. But even on a curb street, they face that same challenge within the city of New Albany. I think these swales are very flat, from what I recall. And
Yeah, the intent, again, is kind of from the edge of the pavement to kind of somewhat beginning with your front yard pavement, per se. So each of the swales, what we are proposing is to have an underdrain under the swales so they don't have to be a deep ditch, and they will stay dry that way.
Okay, any other questions? Ben, this is the first time this has come up. It's like a redo. How do we handle the voting on this?
so our Plain Township zoning resolution text entertains the idea that the BZA may modify a variance, and Ohio Revised Code 519.14 grants a Board of Zoning Appeals authority to modify an order. In my 12 years, we've never addressed this. Kind of borrowing from the Zoning Commission's authority within the zoning text, one way to approach it would be to consider whether or not this is a minor modification of the variance that's already been approved. In my opinion, as zoning officer, I think this is a fairly minor modification to the development plan that was previously presented. If it were something more significant, adding additional lots, requesting additional variances, something like that, we may say this should be subject to hearing. But in this instance, it'd be my recommendation to treat this as a minor modification and to just take a plurality vote on it tonight.
Okay. Then I propose or make a motion that we approve the modification to our motion of last month.
I would second that motion.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll go from there. So all in favor of approving this modification, say aye.
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 Okay. Opposed? Motion carried. So I think it's a good modification, Scott. And I hope it passes the Franklin County this time that you bring it to them.
Well, that'll be tomorrow.
Okay.
We're at the planning commission with them tomorrow. So this has worked out well for us to be able to get into this meeting so quickly prior to that meeting. So I appreciate
Okay.
everybody's consideration.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott, and good luck.
All right. Thank you.
And Scott, we will get you a order approving the variance modification as soon as we can, obviously before the meeting tonight if we can.
Okay. Great.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, what's next on our agenda here? We don't have any hearings. How about board member comments?
I got no comments.
Okay, everybody's doing well, I hope. Then I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? See you next month.
Richard, check your email. We'll send you that modification tonight for your signature. If you can get on the DocuSign and send it back to me, that'd be great.
Okay, will do.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everybody.
Thank you all.
We're setting a record here for our participation. We'll see you next month.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.